Hey guys, what's going on? James here. In this video today, we're going to be giving my official Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2025 mock off season, but I am not alone in this video today. Joining me with his own mock season is Mr. Evan Wanish of BucsNation.com and the Cannon Fire podcast. I almost said of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but well, close enough. Evan, how you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good, and yeah, really excited to get into this. It's something that I do throughout the season, to be honest with you. I do these, and it's always good when you're able to finally have some finality, I guess you could say. We know where the draft order is. We know who the guys are that could be free agents. We know what the situation. We know what the cap number is now. So I'm really excited to get into it.
Sweet. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So me and you both have the Buccaneers with $8.4 million in opening cap space. This is being recorded after the salary cap went up. Very fortunate for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Helps me and Evan out a little bit in terms of our contract negotiations and whatnot. But let's go ahead and start off with restructures and other moves that are made to free up some salary cap space, Evan. So what did you have in terms of your restructurings and other salary cap saving moves?
Yeah, really quick, I want to make a disclaimer that I'll do also on my podcast because Cannon Fire Podcast. We'll be doing one in a couple weeks here as well. This is not necessarily a predictive thing. It's more of a mix, right? Is a mix of what we think the Bucks may do, but also what we would do if we were in the Buccaneers' shoes. This does not mean this is what we are predicting the Buccaneers to do. We are not officially predicting the Bucks to do any of this stuff. Some of it maybe, right? But a lot of it is stuff that we would personally do. Another more one more disclaimer. We're not cap experts, okay? So we're not going to say, well, if you move the guaranteed money to here and then you add a void year here and here, you can get the number down to that. We will deal with cap numbers, but we're not cap experts. So
Oh
don't go
God.
crush us in the comments. But anyways, yes,
It
restructures will have. Go ahead.
the best way to put it, folks, is just it's just like doing a mock draft. Like
Yeah,
you
this is
don't.
just for fun. This
Yeah,
is
yeah. So it's a mix of what we would do, also with what we feel like the team would do, and it's for funsies. So in fact, put your guys' mock off seasons in the comments section. We'd love to read them. So, Evan. Anyway, back to you.
Yeah, so made some restructures, which the Buccaneers will do. They have to. You're not gonna get much done with this $8.4 million in cap space, even though that was good news, right? That the Buccaneers received that the cap with number was going to be way higher than I think many people expected. Um, you're not gonna be able to do much with less than $10 million in cap space. So there will be restructures. Now, a lot of the restructured numbers I got were from Over the Cap. It's a
Same.
great site. It's a site that I use a lot for this stuff, so courtesy of them. So I am restructuring Baker Mayfield to save $21.5 million right off the bat. Is that a little bit of a risk? Maybe because he is on a shorter term deal. You're essentially committing more money to him later years. But if you look at like the cap numbers, the Bucks have a ton of money available to them in 2026 and 2027. So you're going to be able to move a lot of that money to those years. So I'm restructuring Baker Mayfield. I am also restructuring Tristan Wirfs to save 19.5 million. Wirfs, a guy who we know he's going to be here, right? We know what he's going to bring to the table, and I'm confident he's going to be here for a long time. So you just again just moving the money into different years, basically, and then also restructuring Anton Winfield Jr. to save $14.8 million right there. So right off the bat, yeah, okay, 8.4 million, not a lot, but I just got a good chunk of change there available to me to re-sign some guys just by restructuring. I haven't made any additions or subtractions yet, and I'm creating that cap space. So I think the Buccaneers will do that as well. And there's other options, right? There's other players that they could restructure, but those are the three that I went with.
Well, I'm happy that we are in agreement because I restructured the exact three players. Right.
There we go.
I toyed with the idea of restructuring like a Vita Vea, but I thought, nah, like it's just not. Those three are fine. Right.
Yeah,
Where it's
that's part of the realistic thing, right? We could have restructured Vita Vea, and you could have restructured this guy, and you could have had $115 million in cap space. But like, is that realistic? No, like they're not going to restructure everybody.
right. So, all right, Evan. So you've restructured some stuff. Did you make any other moves to free up some salary cap?
I did. So we have a trade.
Mm.
There is a trade. I am not cutting Jamel Dean. Instead, I am trading Jamel Dean to the San Francisco 49ers In that case, I am saving $8.2 million in cap space. And I'm trading him to the 49ers for the 49ers fourth round comp pick, which is 138th overall. That is I believe they have three fourth rounders, so it's one of their three. They have two comp picks. One of them is 137, the other one's 138. So figured that was decent. Um, Other than that, though, I didn't cut a single player. I don't think cutting Jordan Whitehead's very smart. When I looked at it, it was I think you'd save 4.5 million. And I just kind of thought to myself, like, I would sign Jordan Whitehead for 4.5 million on the open market. So I would bet on him having a bounce back season. Hopefully, he can recover from that car accident. Hopefully, everything is fine there, and he's able to get back into regular football shape. Um, but I don't see, if the cap number was a little bit higher, maybe. But if I'm not strapped for cash here, I would rather just hold on to Jordan Whitehead. So as far as releases, I didn't release anybody. Jamel Dean, if they can't find it, I think this is the best case scenario for the Bucs to get a pick. Just like with Carlton Davis last year. If they can't find a trade partner, I think they will just probably release him. So either way, I think the Bucs are saving 8.2 million. It's just whether or not they receive a draft pick or not.
So I also have a salary cap saving move, and it is trading Jamel Dean. I traded him to the New York Jets for a 2025 fourth round draft pick.
Okay.
Pick number 109. So I'm a little bit
Okay.
higher up. I
Yeah, at
think,
least it's not the 49ers.
yes, that would have been insane. Um, I figured trading him to the Jets because they are very likely to be losing DJ Reed. I think Aaron Glenn is going to want to get another big physical type of cornerback. Jamel Dean, I still think, has some value, much like what Carlton Davis did last year. And they got a third round pick for Carlton Davis last year. I think with Dean being a little bit more injury prone, I think you do get a little bit of a lesser pick, but a fourth round pick is still not bad at all under any circumstances. So me and you both have an extra fourth round pick going into our 2025 draft class. Now, it sounds like we both have about $81 million before re-signing Zevin. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Who do you have coming back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before free agency?
Yeah, so the big one is Chris Godwin. Uh, I have 3 years, $67.5 million. It comes out to about $22.5 million per season. But I have his cap hit as in 2025 as $10 million, and it actually saves the Bucks $8 million. Yes, folks. Re-signing Chris Godwin actually saves the Buccaneers some money because Chris Godwin is technically on the Buccaneers cap sheet for 2025. He has a dead money number of, I believe it's $18 million. So yeah, it's $18 million that if Chris Godwin doesn't play for the Bucks, it's just there. Like it's just still there. So it benefits the Bucks. I know a lot of people are like, well, maybe they won't sign him, maybe this, that. I'd be pretty surprised if he's not back. Like I said, they literally will save cap space if they re-sign him. So I can't imagine a scenario where he's not back. He was having really, I understand it's not Liam Cohen's offense anymore, but was having a career year almost before he went down with injury. Was easily the Bucks' best receiver, most productive receiver there. So I would expect him to be back. And again, this one is out of our control, right? But I am bringing back Levante David on a 1 year deal, $8 million, making his cap hit 5 million. Just add a void year in there, spread it out over 2 years. Um, this is under the assumption that Levante David returns. Okay, that's what I am working with. I thought, to be fair, I thought at the end of the season, I thought he was done. I thought it was a guy who would play his last game, and maybe that still is the case, right? As the recording of this video, there has been no decision. But I feel like we would have heard something by now if he was going to decide to retire, and we haven't heard anything. So I'm going to bet that he plays one more season. I'm re-signing Levante David. I'm also re-signing Anthony Nelson, 1 year, $4 million. It's cheap depth. Familiar with the defense. I'm re-signing Greg Gaines, kind of similar thing, 1 year, $3 million. Re-signing Ben Bredesen to a 1 year, $5.5 million deal. So Bredesen gets a pretty nice pay raise on a 1 year deal. He may want a multi-year deal, which I would kind of be a little bit hesitant at. But I just, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, he was pretty solid for them. Can be a starter, obviously, a starting left guard, but also somebody that, like, if you find somebody in the draft, you might be able to upgrade over him and a 1 year deal, I don't think is that bad. Minor moves, very minor. Tavier Thomas, Justin School, Mike Edwards, Kyle Trask, Deion Jones, all signed to $1.5 million deals. I think the vet minimum's like 800K or whatever, so I just went a little bit above the vet minimum for those guys. Again, some of those guys may receive a little bit more interest. Justin School has a little bit of versatility. Maybe he gets a little bit more than that. Kyle Trask, he's a quarterback, former second round pick. Maybe he gets a little bit more than that. Yeah, so there's that, and that's all my minor moves, my major moves. As far as re-signing, the good news for the Bucks is they don't really have a ton of guys that they like have to re-sign. Like it wasn't like last year, right? Last year there was a laundry list of guys they had to take care of, and this year it's much easier.
Yeah, so for me, pretty similar, right? I didn't account the $8 million from re-signing Chris Godwin, by the way. So just whatever, just kind of tack $8 million into that. I worked around that number, but I brought back Chris Godwin on a 3 year, 20 million per year deal with a cap hit of $12 million in year one. Levante David, I brought back on a 1 year, $6 million deal with a $3 million cap hit in year one. Anthony Nelson, I gave him a 2 year deal for $4 million per season. Greg Gaines, 1 year, $3 million. Ben Bredesen, I gave him 2 years, $6 million. After that, like you said, I have Tavier Thomas coming back. Justin School, I have coming back. Like you said, I gave them 1.5 million. School, I gave 2 million. Shepard, 1 year, 1.5. Shaq Barrett, 1 year, 1.5. Bryce Hall, I brought back. Mike Edwards, I gave a little bit of a raise to. He came back on a 1 year, $2.5 million deal. And then restricted free agents, I brought back JJ Russell. I'm same thing, just around $1.5 million. And Kayvon Merriweather and CJ Brewer are back as well. So me going into free agency, originally I had 30, or here I have $38 million, Evan. Um, without adding that $8 million from Chris Godwin. So whatever, just disregard that $8 million. Just tuck it away. But I have Will Golston leaving, Joe Tryon Shoyinka leaving, Chase Edmonds, Kyle Trask, Sua Opeta, Troy Hill, Robert Hainsey's out the door. Royce Newman, Eric Banks, KJ Britt, and Ryan Neal. We're both pretty similar in terms of which players are leaving, correct?
Yeah, yeah, for the most part, I don't. Yeah, yep, yeah. I just feels like it's time for a guy like JTS. Feels like it's time for a guy like Will Golston. I know they've re-signed him a couple of times here, but feels like time to sort of turn the page there a little bit.
Yeah, and even in the case of a guy like Trask, you had him coming back. I have him leaving. I have the Bucks going a different route in terms of backup quarterback. I just think Trask will maybe want to compete somewhere else going forward. Maybe he'll go join Brady with the Raiders. I mean, he literally played with Tom Brady, and he's a minority owner over there now, so I don't know. But and then Hainsey, I mean, honestly, Hainsey's going to go be a starter somewhere.
Yeah, I think he could get actually might be one of the contracts from free agency that you look at and you're like, ooh, like didn't expect that guy to get that much. Like I don't think it's gonna be crazy, but like I think the number might surprise some people.
Right. So going forward, then I have the Buccaneers with $38 million going into free agency. We'll say 46, but you know what? They'll save that 18 for in-season expenses. Okay, so my
Yeah.
number still stands at $28 million going into free agency. Here is what they have to spend on free agent. Seven. How much do you have to spend?
Based on and again, I'm not a math major at all. But I have a little bit over. Okay, I'm not gonna say my exact number.
Okay.
There is one shoe to drop that will affect that, and I
Okay.
can't really say it.
That's perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and dive into free agency then. Some new faces are coming in here. I spent, by the way, $42.9 million in cap hits on my re-signings, by the way. So that's a bit of a high number there. Evan, who do you have coming in terms of new faces to the Bucks?
Yeah, so I didn't go crazy, which I don't think the Bucks are gonna go crazy either. This is one of the things that I'm like pretty realistic with. I don't think the Bucks are gonna go out on this spending spree and go, boom, there's a big contract, boom, there's another one.
You
Yeah,
want
yeah,
Trey
you know,
Hendrickson? Bam!
yeah.
You got
But
him!
here's Josh Sweat and Travarius Ward,
Miles
boom.
Garrett, bang!
Yeah, not gonna happen. But I did want to look for some value guys, right? Some guys I think could fill roles, could maybe step up in certain spots. So, and just depth. So I am signing offensive tackle Andre Dillard. to a 1 year, $2.5 million deal. Made a little over $1 million last year with the Packers. So gets a little bit of a raise here. A guy who can play left and right tackle. So I have Justin School and I also have Andre Dillard as my two sort of backup tackles there. Both guys can play either side. I like that versatility. Now we talked about Robert Hainsey departing in free agency. I felt the need to get somebody to sort of fill that role, and I looked at it, and I was actually looking at the guards first, and I was like, and then I looked at the Bucs roster, and I was like, there's not like, if Graham Barton were to go down, there's not many people that I feel great at center, like on the team. So I went decided to look for centers, landed on Nick Harris from the Cleveland Browns, 1 year, $3 million. I believe he played a little bit of right guard in his rookie season, so he has experience somewhere else, but he's played center for most of his career. So there's my backup center. And now to the defense. I make three signings here, and they're the big ones, quote unquote. Okay, I am signing, and did this last year. I'm gonna keep doing it until they do it. I am signing interior defensive lineman Javon Kinlaw
It's
to
every off
a.
season. This is like the third off season in a row. Me and you have talked about you wanting to bring in Javon Kinlaw.
Oh, he's good. So, interior defensive lineman Javon Kinlaw to a 1 year deal worth $8 million, a prove it deal. He went to the Jets. He kind of had an okay season. Had a PFF grade overall 53.4, pass rush grade is 68.2, ranked 39th out of 219 interior defensive linemen, but a run defense grade of 50.8. Not a good run defender there. 27 solo tackles, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles this past season for the Jets. Seems like obviously the Jets are most likely going to be moving on there. There's a whole new regime. I wouldn't expect Kinlaw to be back. I think the reason he was even there was because of his relationship with Robert Saleh. Saleh is no longer there, so I expect Kinlaw to hit the open market, and I think it's somebody the Bucs should have interest in, or at least somebody like that. I think they need a little bit more juice along the defensive line there. I like Kalijah Kancey. I like Vita Vea. Logan Hall took a step, but I would like some insurance. I think you look at what the Eagles did in the Super Bowl with their depth along the defensive line and their pass rushers. I really like a lot of things they did, so I wanted to sort of emulate that, and clearly it works. So Kinlaw, I'm adding him to the mix. And again, yes, not a great run defender, right? But I've always had the mindset of a team with Vita Vea as their nose tackle is never going to be a truly bad team against the run. And the Bucs weren't a bad team against the run this past season. So that's why I'm able to make a little bit of sacrifices here, maybe to the run defense. And that comes into my next free agent signing because I am finding Levante David a running partner. I am signing Tyrell Dodson to a 2 year, $12 million deal, $6 million cap AAV. Make his cap hit in 2025, 4 million. Just spread it out a little bit. It's a multi-year deal. I'm able to spread it out. Tyrell Dodson has a PFF grade for when he's 26, so like there could be a future with this guy. Okay, played last year with the Dolphins a little bit. 67.3 overall PFF grade, 74th among linebackers, 56.4 pass rush grade, and 82.9 coverage grade. 82.9. That's very high. The issue, though, is he had a 47.0 run defense grade. So not a good run defender, right? But something that I think the Bucs need to get better at is their pass coverage, particularly the linebacker position. And Levante David's slowing down there a little bit as well. I think Dodson can help that. And again, I think especially a defense with Vita Vea and Levante David being still a solid run defender, I just don't see that as a team that's going to be a bad run defense team. So I'm able to make some sacrifices there with Kinlaw, with Dodson, to create a little bit more explosiveness along the defensive side of the ball there. He had 80 solo tackles this past season, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. So Dodson's a guy, and again, has a future, right? Kinlaw's 27, Dodson's 26. I'm not signing guys that are, 33, 34 years old and hoping just to get them for 1 or 2 years. They may be a part of the future here for the Bucs. So we'll have to wait and see there. And then one last one I did sign, and this one's sort of more so for me. I don't really know if they have interest in this player, but it's not the type of player they typically look at. But Amani Aworiye, the corner from the Dallas Cowboys, has a profile like physically that they look at, 6'2", 205, 29 years old. Overall grade is 60.0 on PFF. Coverage grade is 63.9. Not bad. But his run defense grade 47.4. So it didn't play a ton of snaps in 2024. Wasn't like a full-time starter, but played a decent amount. Not a good run defender, obviously. I think that, probably alludes to him not being the best tackler in the world, which I don't know if the Buccaneers would like. So that's one reason why I'm not sure if they'd have much interest, but signed him to a 1 year, $4 million deal, just sort of on that prove it deal. I think they need a veteran cornerback in there, and I think Awarie fits the bill.
Okay, so let's go back over the names.
Yep.
So no.
Andre Dillard, Nick Harris, Javon Kinlaw, Tyrell Dodson, and Amani Awarie.
Okay, that's pretty
Five
five
names.
solid names right there, man. I did notice you didn't address a certain position group. We'll dive into that, I'm sure, in the NFL draft. Edge seems a little bit weak right now, right? But I'm sure we'll dive into that at some point here. It seems like you did a pretty good job. My list is similar in some ways, different in others. Um, so I'm gonna go over some of the more minor moves, and actually I added two moves as you were discussing your moves because I was like, oh wait, that's actually a pretty good idea. Um, I am adding a center and guard in Cody Whitehair. I'm going to give him a 1 year, $3 million deal. He was formerly with the Las Vegas Raiders most recently. At inside linebacker, I am bringing in Cody Barton. Is a 1 year, $5 million deal, $3 million cap hit. I also had Amani Owarie coming in, but I'm giving him significantly less money. I gave him like the veteran minimum because that's how much he made this previous season with the Cowboys. So I don't know. I'm also bringing in Raheem Mostert on a 1 year, $1.5 million deal, and I'm also bringing in Teddy Bridgewater to be the new backup quarterback. Love Teddy B. Love Teddy B. 1 year, $1.5 million deal as well. Hey man, he wanted to make his return, and he's back. Here's the two big deals though, Evan. Traded away Jamel Dean. Okay.
Yep.
I'm replacing him with Charvarius Ward. I'm bringing
Okay.
him in on a 2 year, $14.5 million deal, $8 million cap hit in year number one. Okay. The second big deal I have gotten here is Josh Sweat. I'm bringing him in on a 4 year, $19 million per year deal with a $10 million cap hit in year number one. Okay, so those are my two big moves. We replaced Jamel Dean with Charvarius Ward. And for the love of God, they better get a number one pass rusher. So I have them getting Josh Sweat. Are there any other moves that you made before going into the NFL draft?
I made a trade.
Boom. He's back. Yeah. I was waiting. I was waiting. Let's go.
Yes, yes, there is a trade called called a little town in Ohio.
Bang. He
Called
did
a
it.
little town, Ohio.
Dude,
Not Cleveland.
dude, you are crazy.
Not Cleveland. Cincinnati, Ohio. Called them
Oh,
up and
baby.
was like, what's the price for that pass rusher you got over there, huh? So I am trading a second round pick this year, 51st overall, a fifth round pick for this year, 155th overall, and a 2026 fourth round pick to the Cincinnati Bengals for edge rusher Trey Hendrickson and a 2025 sixth round pick from the Bengals, which is 192nd overall. So the Bengals get a second round pick. They move from 192 to 155. Basically, they move up almost 40 spots in the draft, and they also collect a fourth round pick for next year. Will it cost more? Potentially, but that's just the basis I went off of. The Bucs get Trey Hendrickson. The Bucs are signing Trey Hendrickson to a 3 year, $81 million deal. 27 AAV cap hit in 2025 is $10 million. So I'm pushing a lot of that to future years to try and fix my cap situation now. Again, I said the Bucs in 2026 and 2027, their cap number is quite healthy. They don't really have a ton committed right now, so I'm able to do that. I think, look, the Bucs need to get an edge rusher, right? And I thought about Josh Sweat, and actually, I believe one I did very early on in the offseason had the Buccaneers sign Josh Sweat. I did have the Buccaneers doing that. But um, I just, I look at it and I think Trey Hendrickson is I think he's a better player than Josh Sweat. Obviously, I paid Trey Hendrickson more.
I
But
paid
I
a
think there's
lot
less.
more.
Yeah, I think there's less risk with Trey Hendrickson as well.
Yeah.
Um, I think Josh Sweat. So I mean, here's the thing I'm trying to explain, right? Over the cap. Okay. So right now, on over the cap, the Buccaneers team cap space for 2025, 8.3 million. The Buccaneers team cap space for 2026, 95.5. So, and for 2027, it's 225.8. So there's a lot of room for the Buccaneers, and obviously they'll have to re-sign guys in those years and whatever. But there's a lot of room to be able to move that stuff around. I acquire an elite edge rusher for the Buccaneers. I think it is definitely the number one need. I think an edge rusher, a pass rush helps your defense out so much more, and I think it needed to be done. So that's what I ended up doing.
I love it. I think that's a phenomenal move. That might be the move out of both of our if there was one move that I could pick out of both of our mock off seasons to be like make that move, it'd probably be that move, to be honest with you. But let's go ahead and go into the NFL draft now. So your draft's going to be way different than mine because I've got all of my. I don't have a sixth rounder, but I do have two fourths. You gave up a lot to get Hendrickson, so I'm curious to see what your mock draft is here.
Okay. So in round one, and this is I used the PFF mock draft simulator. So if you don't agree with a guy being there, blame Trevor Sikkema. Don't blame me. Just
Facts,
yell at
facts,
him on Twitter. It's fine.
based.
Yeah. So if you guys have an issue with it, again,
Blame Trevor.
um, yeah, blame him. And you are right. I don't have as many picks as I'd like. So let's look at 19 overall. I get a call from the Baltimore Ravens.
The madman. Jesus Christ.
And the Baltimore Ravens want to move up. So I am trading the 19th overall pick as well as a 2027 fifth round pick to the Baltimore Ravens because they did not accept the previous trade. So I had to add in a little bit of a sweetener. Okay, whatever. It's a fifth round pick 2 years from now to receive the 27th overall pick. So I'm moving back 8 spots. And I'm also picking up the Ravens second round pick, which is 59th overall. So I recoup my second round pick there while moving back 8 spots.
Okay. Well, now
Okay.
who do you take in round one? And we'll go like round for round then.
Okay. The same guy I probably would have taken at 19. Now at 19, it may be a little bit more of a risk, right? It may be a little bit more of a reach. But I am taking Savon Ravel, cornerback from East Carolina, with the 27th overall pick. Now, Ravel is a risk no matter where you draft him. Okay. He tore his ACL early in this past season, but he is a very talented football player. Had a big 2023, was primed for a big 2024. And if that ACL injury doesn't happen, he might be a top 15 pick. He might be cornerback one, depending on how the year went. That's how much talent I think this guy has. Reminds me a lot, and I'm not saying he's going to be exactly this guy, but reminds me a lot of Sauce Gardner. Has a very similar physical traits, attributes to him. So picking Savon Ravel, addressing the cornerback position. I did sign Awarie, but Awarie alone isn't going to be really enough for me to feel comfortable at the corner. So I did want to, use a premium draft pick on a corner, and I pick Ravel here at the end of the first round.
For me, then, first off, good pick. I like the pick. We've gone in some different directions here in terms of how we've been addressing the secondary. I went for more of a hey, let me get this guy in free
Hmm.
agency type move, where you're saying, hey, I want to get somebody in the early in the draft. Um, I continue to add to a position here that I've already added to in free agency, and it is with the 19th overall pick, I take Jahad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama. It's a pretty safe pick, I think. Like, Campbell seems like a pretty do it all type of linebacker who is coming out of a big school in Alabama. He's worked with Charlie Strong before. Whenever Charlie Strong was a defensive analyst, he's now on the Buccaneers coaching staff. And I think the Bucs are aching for that long-term answer at inside linebacker after the Demo White experiment failed, right? So I have them taking Jahad Campbell here, linebacker out of Alabama, with my 19th overall pick. Now, let's move on to round two. Your pick, and I'll give my pick here. I do go edge defender with pick number 51. I take Jared Ivey out of Ole Miss at pick number 51. Yes, I did get Josh Sweat. Yes, we do have Yaya Diaby and Braswell in there. Brother, I'm gonna keep on adding. I'm gonna keep on adding.
There you go.
I'm not settling
I
for
don't blame you.
nothing.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
I'm throwing
I'm
as much as I can at the wall. So
Yeah, one of it's got to stick. I mean, something's got to stick, right?
yeah, so what did you get to pick 59?
Yeah, so with the 59th overall pick, after like I said, getting my second round pick back, I am also picking a Ole Miss defender. It is Chris Paul Jr., linebacker from Ole Miss. No relation to Chris Paul, no relation to CP3. Just Chris Paul Jr. Um, I think a perfect fit for the Bucs. And again, Tyrell Dodson, I think is a good player, but there's limitations there. And again, I think if Levante David returns, you're setting up his, John Cena farewell tour, basically, right? Like that's what you're setting up, pretty much. By the way, he's got to win 17. But um, I think Levante David, this would be it for him, right? So you have to think about the future a little bit more here. In Todd Bowles' defense, you need multiple linebackers, right? Like so. I am comfortable with Chris Paul here. You can take the pressure off him. He doesn't need to come in and play, 85% of the snaps immediately, right? Ease him into it. If Dodson's struggling a little bit, okay, maybe you can put him in midseason. If there is an injury, right? Levante David has suffered some injuries in the past. We'll see. Maybe you have to put him in. You don't have to throw him to the Wolves immediately. I think it's a pretty good spot for this kid to be in.
Moving on to round number 3. Who did you have taking in round number 3?
I went back to the Ole Miss well.
Okay.
And here's a big surprise. I am taking Trey Harris, a wide receiver from Ole Miss, and with the 83rd overall pick.
Wow.
I'm investing in a receiver because again, Mike Evans is not getting any younger. He is in the final year of his deal. Okay, so we don't know if he'll be back. Chris Godwin, you love him, but now this is the second major injury he has suffered. You don't know how he's going to be, right? I think he'll be fine. That's why I re-signed him, but like, you don't know. Jalen McMillan, I like McMillan, but I don't think McMillan is so good to stop me from drafting Trey Harris here. And really, in today's NFL, you play four wide receivers all the time, like you do. And I just think Trey Harris is much better than a Trey Palmer or Raheem Jarrett for that matter. So I think Trey Harris can not only contribute in 2025, but potentially be your starter in 2026 and maybe even beyond that should Mike Evans decide to hang it up or not resign, whatever it may be. Or if Godwin goes down. They played a game against the Kansas City Chiefs where it was Sterling Shepard and Ryan Miller as the two wide receivers. I mean, I can't see that happening again. The Bucs want to seriously compete, for a division title again, for a Super Bowl potentially. So I like Trey Harris here. Is it a need? No. This is a pure luxury pick. And honestly, if I didn't have my second round pick back, right? If I didn't recoup that, probably don't do this, right? Probably go in a different direction. Also, keep in mind, I have 2/4 because I got it from San Francisco. So if I don't have those 2/4, I might go in a different direction as well. But Trey Harris, he was there, and I was like, all right, I do like him enough to take him here.
For me in round 3, I took at pick number 83 Kobe Bryant out of Kansas coming in. Kobe. No relation to Kobe Bryant, but no,
Spelled differently, folks.
indeed, Cobee Bryant. But this is a guy where, look, I needed to add depth at cornerback. The Bucs have had success in the middle rounds of drafting cornerbacks in the past. So to be blunt, he's a bigger corner. He fits more of the mold of what the Buccaneers look for in outside perimeter cornerbacks, and I wanted to continue to add to that room. Yes, I brought in Charvarius Ward. Yes, I brought in Amani Oruwariye, but if there's one thing Bucs corners love, it's getting injured. So I continue to add to the room here with Kobe Bryant. Moving on to round 4, Evan, I'm going to give my 2 fourth-round picks and then toss it over to you. Pick number 108, I went with Simeon Barrow Jr., interior defensive lineman out of Miami. Just to be short and simple, I wanted to add some more depth at the defensive line. Yes, I did bring back Greg Gaines, but I wanted a bit more depth, especially with Logan Hall and Kalaji Kancey having the injury concerns they've had the past couple of years. I felt like it was necessary. Then with pick number 119, I went with Luke Kandra, offensive guard out of Cincinnati. I wanted to add more to that interior depth. You talked about Graham Barton. If he ever goes down, that could be a bit of an issue. Similar things can be said for One, a guy like Cody Mock, and also like Ben Bredesen. I did bring him back to be my starter, but I just you can never have enough depth at your offensive line, so I brought in Luke Kandra here. What did you go with your two fourth round picks?
Yeah, so with the 119th pick, I also did interior defensive lineman. I did not do the same interior defensive lineman. Instead, I went with Riley Mills, interior defensive line from Notre Dame. Was actually a team captain for Notre Dame. So that shows you the leadership ability. Now, I think the reason Mills is probably here is because of an injury that he suffered late in Notre Dame's season. It was a knee injury. I don't know if it was an ACL, but it was significant enough to keep him out the rest of the season. So we'll see. But I think that's the reason he's probably available at this spot. I want to take advantage of that, and I do agree. Adding more depth along that interior defensive line. I mean, and I even added a guy like Kinlaw too. So not only, I'm sort of double dipping there, adding Kinlaw and then adding Mills here. So I think Mills, because again, I only added Kinlaw to a 1 year deal, right? Logan Hall's in the final year of his deal as well coming up. So I do think there is some potential here for Mills to get some playing time and again, sort of get eased into it though, right? He doesn't have to come in and be a starter right away. If the injury is something that's going to take some time, he can rehab that no problem. So I do like that. And at round four, pick 138th overall, which I believe is the last pick of the fourth round, the 49ers comp pick that I received for Jamel Dean. I also went with a Miami defender. It is Tyler Barron, an edge defender from Miami. Again, just sort of adding, I didn't want to just add Trey Hendrickson and then call it good. Wanted to add somebody else to the room, some new blood in there. So Tyler Barron, it is out of Miami.
Right on, man. All right. So to wrap this up, then we've got our later round picks. Um, how many picks do you have? I have a fifth rounder and a seventh rounder.
I have a sixth and a seventh.
Okay.
We
Well,
have the same seventh.
okay. So I'll just have you mention your sixth and your seventh, and I'll mention my fifth and my seventh. So how did you wrap up your draft here?
Yeah, it was round six, 192 overall. I picked Akili Arnold, a safety out of USC, adding some depth. And again, sixth and seventh round picks, these guys may end up on the practice squad. They may not even make the team. Who knows? And then to finish out the draft, round seven, 236th overall, I picked Montrell Johnson Jr., a running back out of the University of Florida.
Okay, right on. For me, pick number 155, I went with Caden Prather, wide receiver out of Maryland. He just potentially another deep threat wide receiver, adds a little bit more to that room. Potentially, we'll see. And then round seven, pick number 236, I drafted Seth Hennigan, quarterback out of Memphis. So wanted
That
to
was
just
actually that was actually the deal I was considering taking.
yeah, so I mean, like, I just wanted to add a little bit more to that room just to kind of see what was going on. It never hurts to take quarterbacks, right? So, like, I decided to take one in the seventh round just to add to that room. They also have Michael Pratt in there as well, who's coming
Yeah.
back, but hey, you can have a couple of developmental guys. So, Evan, real quick, let's kind of dive into our final rosters here. And obviously, this isn't including undrafted free agent guys and whatnot. So, offensively, who do you got?
Yeah, so 53-man roster, again, not including
So, so, so you did a 53-man
I
roster.
did 53. Yeah, I
I
did
just
53.
said these are the
That's fine.
guys on the
That's
roster.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be plenty more. I didn't want to do practice squad and stuff like that. So this is just my 53. I find it easier to do.
Hmm.
And again, this isn't a depth chart either. So
Sure.
Baker Mayfield, Kyle Trask, Michael Pratt, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Sean Tucker at running back. Wide receivers, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, Trey Harris, Trey Palmer, and Raheem Jarrett. There's been some talk of Palmer maybe getting cut. I like Trey Palmer still has the place on the team for me at least.
Hmm.
Tight end, Kate Otten, Payne Durham, Devin Culp. The one position I don't believe did either one of us address tight end. I don't believe we touched it.
Don't
No.
need to.
Yeah.
They got some dogs.
The only thing I would say is like I don't think a veteran would kill him. Like I don't think a veteran would
No.
it wouldn't hurt
No.
if they added a guy there.
For sure.
Left tackle is Tristan Wirfs, Andre Dillard. Left guard is Ben Bredesen. Centers Graham Barton, Nick Harris. Right guard is Cody Malk, Elijah Klein. Right tackle is Luke Gedeke and Justin School. The interior defensive line is Kalijah Cansey, Javon Kinlaw, Logan Hall, Riley Mills. Nose tackle Vita Vea, Greg Gaines. Outside linebackers Trey Hendrickson, Yaya Diaby, Chris Braswell, Anthony Nelson, and Tyler Barron. Inside linebackers Levante David, Tyrell Dodson, Chris Paul Jr., Servatier Dennis, and Deion Jones. Cornerback is Zan McCollum, Amani Oruwariye, Savon Ravel, Tyke Smith, and Tavier Thomas. I'm keeping Tyke Smith at nickel corner. I just think that's, again, I don't want to mess up a good thing.
Based.
Um, Free safeties, Anton Field Jr. and Christian Izien. Strong safety is Jordan Whitehead, Mike Edwards. Actually, I did sign one more guy. I didn't realize it until my final roster thing. It's very minor. It's not a major thing at all. I'm signing Ronnie Harrison as a strong safety. Just a little bit more depth in that room. So Ronnie Harrison as well. I believe he played last year with the Colts a little bit. Was like in and out of their practice squad kind of. So may or may not even make the
Little
team.
do you know he's about to be an all-pro. So
Yeah, exactly. Chase McLaughlin at kicker, punter. Gonna be honest with you, I didn't. I literally put down UDFA. Like, just find a dude. I'm not gonna go. I didn't want to spend like legit money on a punter, and I was like, just find somebody.
hey,
Everybody find somebody.
okay.
And then long snapper Evan Deckers.
All right, here's me. This is not a 53, by the way. This
Yeah,
is just who's on the roster right now. Baker Mayfield, Teddy Bridgewater, Michael Pratt, and Seth Hennigan. I love Teddy B. Rashad White at running back, Bucky Irving, Raheem Mostert, Sean Tucker, and DJ Williams. Wide receiver, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer, Caden Prather, Raheem Jarrett, Sterling Shepard, Marquez Callaway, Cameron Johnson, Ryan Miller, Dennis Houston, and Tanner Canoe. Tight end, Kate Otten, Co Keefe, Payne Durham, Devin Culp, Tanner Tuula. Offensive tackle, Tristan Wirfs, Luke Gedeke, Justin School, Silas Danzy, Raekwon O'Neal, and Garrett Greenfield. Offensive guard, Cody Mock, Ben Bredesen, Luke Kandra, Lorenz Metz, Elijah Klein, and Luke Haggard. Center, Graham Barton and Cody Whitehair. Defensive end, Kalijah Cansey, Logan Hall, Simeon Barrow Jr., Greg Gaines, Adam Gotsis, Mike Green, and CJ Brewer. Nose tackle, Vita Vea. Outside or edge linebackers, Josh Sweat, Yaya Diaby, Jared Ivey, Chris Braswell, Anthony Nelson, Shaq Barrett, Marquise Watts, and Jose Ramirez. Inside linebacker, Levante David, Cody Barton, Jahad Campbell, Deion Jones, Servassier Dennis, J.J. Russell, Antonio Greer Jr., Daniel Grigiak, and Deion Jennings. Cornerback, Zon McCollum, Chavarius Ward, Kobe Bryant, Bryce Hall, Josh Hayes, Tyreek Thunderberg, Dallas Flowers, and Amani Oruwariye. Free safety, Antoine Phil Jr., Mike Edwards, Christian Izien. I mean, really, a lot of these guys you can kind of switch on either safety spot, by the way. Strong safety, Jordan Whitehead, Tyke Smith, Marcus Banks, Rashad Wisdom, and Kayvon Merriweather. Kicker, Chase McLaughlin. Punter, can't believe you forgot about Jack Browning and Jake Julian, Evan. Come on,
Jack
man.
Browning is good.
And long snapper,
That's the issue with Jack Browning.
and long snapper, Evan Deckers. So, this was a long one, Evan. This was a 42-minute plus video. Okay.
There you go.
So
That might be one of the longest non-live stream videos you've ever done.
it probably is. But guys, that's our mock off seasons. What do you guys think about my mock off season? What do you think about Evan's? Who do you like more in terms of what our final rosters look like? It's probably Evans, let's be fair. And what do you guys think about some mock off seasons? Put your own in the comments section. We would love to see them as well. Evan, do you have any final words before we go ahead and peace out of here?
No, tune in to CFP in a couple of weeks where I will do my mock off season again.
To
Don't
say the
worry.
exact same thing.
Again, I said I'm addicted to these things. It's going to be a different one. So don't worry. There will be different ideas in that one. So stay tuned for that. Catch all of my work over on BucsNation.com as well.
Fantastic stuff. Well, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. And as always, guys, we'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now. See you soon, and go Bucs.